So I thought I'd make a video just talking about some things. I'm a little under the weather, so my voice is a little rough, but hey, for many years now, since 2015, discovering Eric Dubay, and it just solidified like what we already knew and were observing and aware of as children, that the sun is going around and over us, as is the moon, not what they tell you in school with a spinning ball saying that we go spinning around the sun and chasing the sun and all this shit, when we've seen the same constellations for thousands of years. So if we were really shooting through all this space and going here and there and whizzing around as NASA proclaims, you'd think we'd see some different stars and going all around us in different ways and manners as well. And the truth is that the sun and the moon are direct luminaries going around the one star that never moves, our North Star, which is pinned magnetically somehow above Mount Meru, as the ancient Vedics call it, the magnetic lodestone mountain. Irminsul has many names by many peoples, and the ancestral legends and stories are very valid and amazingly helpful. Remember, legend means map key, as so think about that. But the truth is, there's so much science. As Eric Dubay has videos like 200 proofs the Earth is not a spinning ball, and just so much. It was all shut down several times, and so you, instead of seeing his nearly 20-year-old channel with videos from a decade ago and such talking about these things with millions of views and likes and all these amazing conversations, just hundreds and hundreds of comments and such, thousands, and learning and hearing through different people's takes on things, and being able to look at that and observe for yourself with the whole mass of it completely deleted constantly, as many people, thousands of people were shut down, and I've lost 300 plus videos and things I'll never get back, stories and songs and even silly raps and shit back in the day. I mean, that was even like before B.o.B and Eric Dubay, Payday Monsanto were making raps and stuff. Okay, I'm not bragging, I swear. But it is what it is. They don't want people to be educated and learning and thinking for themselves, and at least even having that to look at. And it just gets, they figure people will get tired and not really talk about it anymore, which has happened to some extent for people who, in the first wave of this renaissance, if you will, of becoming back to our geocentric roots and everyone returning it to the ancestral cultural roots, basically reclaiming your understanding of where we've come from, where we are, and quite possibly where we're going even. And if we are displaced from nation to nation, confused, and in the grip of communism and all its shit wars and such, we get confused as a peoples who are abandoning our ancestral legends because of what? Because of NASA's fairy tales about their moonwalking gods? The gods that have walked on the moon. Just sit back in your chair, watch the underwater pool film, or somewhere in the Netherlands, or CGI or Fish Islands and so forth, all this bullshit Disneyland fucking studio crap. Yeah. The truth about the nature of things is not going to be something that's accessible to the mass of people if they could have it be. Because there's certain ones who want the mass of people's ignorant, controllable, and in fear, thinking that we're in scarcity, moving around at this rate, this and that, on a spinning ball, everything's already been explored and discovered. Just go kill yourself, basically. I mean, instead of having natural rituals and growing in your cultural stories of what and where and what is, and growing in that, we're displaced and there's more. So you have gangs and different things that are replacing what would naturally have been initiations that were healthy, versus this a needless suffering and homelessness and all this, which need not be, when there are plenty of resources and land for all to have an enjoyment as a birthright to be a part of. And if we can peacefully reclaim dominion to the extent, I mean, what if, for example, one were to have the ability to be able to levitate and fly on a broom, on a magic carpet, by themselves, on a bike, I don't know, on a couch, on a chariot, whatever it be? Would we be able to just simply fly around right now with our new advanced consciousness, with tapping into the real energies and such? Or would we be shot down, chased down, and all these other things? Would we be able to, in the land or in the sea or in the air, to be exploring or to advance yourself as an individual and as community and people as a whole? Would we? Or would we be facing a lot of obstacles, which we are actually facing, I would say, in that there are a gross amount of lies being perpetuated constantly, and it would just be more comfortable for people, generally the mass that is lazy or just cognitive dissonance or whatever it be, not wanting to feel crazy or sticking out, or maybe there's something about it that would bother them, because then they'd be like, oh, well, my brother or my sister or my friend or whoever it was in their life that they knew that was talking about this many years ago, and they laughed and mocked and ridiculed. They certainly don't want to now, 6 years later, 10 years later, whatever it is, be like, oh, have to actually rethink about reality and everything. It would blow their mind maybe too much, or they piss their pants, scared, afraid, really, regardless. And you see right through all the cocky mockery and all this arrogant blathering, people who promote and defend liars on the TV screen, versus just really having actual conversations. And I was on the street level trying to, and was having very many positive conversations with many people of all different backgrounds and age and you name it, religions or non-religions, etc., sexuality, you name it. And it seems like there's been a sort of a stagnation for quite a few years. Wow. I got slammed with some snow just now. Where did that come from? What? There's like nothing over me, really. I mean, there's trees over here, but not over here. Interesting. Well, anyways, that was fun. I just thought I would talk about some of this, and it's something to think about, and hopefully I find this interesting to maybe leave a comment yourself if you have a question, or if you are inspired in any way to perhaps even laugh. It can be good and healthy for that as well. It's good to be critical. Don't take my word for something by any means, but certainly we're not on a spinning ball. And yes, the wandering stars and the direct luminaries are what is moving around the one star that never moves, the North Star. The ancient Persians oft thought it was a crystal shell of a dome, and we're in a giant ocean. And the ancient Vedic talks about the causal ocean. Always wondered, are we underneath possibly water? Are we on the surface of a giant ocean? Versus the so-called vacuum of space, which I certainly don't believe in the vacuum of space, but is it that we're in is there sort of a water rising, if you will, underneath, and a pressure growing as we get, are we rising higher to like the top of the inside of a dome, if you will, or are we going to be drawn to the North Pole and like an elevator, if you will, be ascending up, or even perhaps down into the whirlpooling mass? There are four indrawing seas, as Mercator wrote to King Arthur, that literally suck the nails out of ships. Four main indrawing seas, which align quite magically as a wheel that's turning, like the ancient Swazi that's been depicted by 200 plus cultures, aligning with the axis, the axle of the North Pole and the North Star, with the wheel of the Swazi in the sky, which is the Big Dipper that in its four seasons does make this symbol around its circular dance of the North Star. Sea level, not Z curve. Still round, but we're within it, not on the outside of a spinning ball. It's 360-degree ice wall around us. Think about putting a bowl of water in the freezer. It freezes on the outside first. It's usually warmer in the center. If you eat soup, you usually would go for the outer circumference versus going right in for the middle where it's steaming hot. Same magically with the lungs and breathing, the spine, the magnetic mountain, the giant indrawing. See the whirlpool that is going around the magnetic mountain. This is the giant cover-up since World War II and so forth as well. I mean, there's a lot to think about here. And I hope it's inspired you. And as a note, the theistic Satanist, this is pre-Christian, not what Christians define Satan as, but as who he really is. I would like to honor that and say, Hail Satan. And hopefully I'm not scaring the fuck out of everyone who's listening to this who might misunderstand where I'm coming from. So, on this note, beautiful night. Ave Satanas.